Secretary Handel, do you support giving a state tax credit for businesses that hire Georgians currently on the unemployment rolls?
I think we need to look at more tax credits for bringing people back to work. We've got a fairly robust set of them already through the State Economic Development Department, but as we look at that and work to get the economy moving, I would really like to see us approach this tax credit issue from a broader, more comprehensive standpoint instead of just nibbling around the edges on it. The Georgia Work Ready program that's been put in place does a little bit of that already. So I think we need to assess what we're already doing, make sure that we're getting good bang for the buck, but then look at pro-growth strategies from a taxing standpoint, because it's not just tax credits for hiring people. It is looking at the inventory tax, working with our local governments around that. How can we give some relief on small businesses? It's retooling the small business initiatives at the State Economic Development Department to make sure that they're offering the kinds of support to small business that really is going to help small business grow. And for the most part, it's the overburden on regulatory side of things as well as taxes that are crushing the small businesses.
No, that's fine. I think that we certainly need to encourage employers, and one of the ways we can do it is through tax credits. I would caution you, though, to assume that that automatically achieves the result that you want. We had to deal with this at the federal level, and what we found was if you set arbitrary amounts of period of time as to how long you have to be unemployed in order to be hired and receive the credit, you're very likely going to subject yourself to a situation where an employer might decide to let a good employee go and substitute, because of a tax credit, somebody who meets that definitional criteria. Now, that is an unintended consequence, and you have to be very, very careful that that's not what you have happen.
I'll come back one more point on the regulatory climate, and it was a good piece of legislation that was finally passed in this session, so thank you to the legislators for supporting it this go around. That would put an automatic sunset on the regulatory boards so that the state is forced to look at the regulatory climate every 7 years to really analyze how much regulation do we have on these various professions. Certainly we want good high consumer protection for Georgians, but at the same time we don't want to over-regulate to the point that we strangulate small business and their ability to grow jobs. And to be able to retain that and achieve that fine balance requires an ongoing review of that. And so with this legislation as governor, I'll push forward to make sure that we implement that in an aggressive way, because I think it will provide some very good, healthy relief to small business in particular.
With regard to regulation, I regret that the governor vetoed not only the zero-based budgeting bill, but also the sunset legislation that would have put time limits as to when legislation expired. I believe that is a healthy way of allowing the General Assembly to periodically review legislation, and it just doesn't stay on the books indefinitely. Now, for your benefit, I've been one of those at the federal level who supported sunsetting the Internal Revenue Code. I don't believe I just don't believe that we're ever going to get significant major tax reform, either at the federal level or the state level, until we have some drop-dead dates that forces our hand to take a look at it in a serious fashion.